Welcome to the Aviatrix platform overview. The platform really consists of three primary components: the controller, gateways, and Copilot. The first thing to take away is that Aviatrix is not SaaS or a managed service. The Aviatrix software runs inside of our customers' environments, inside of their cloud architecture. What I'd like to do now is walk you through each of these components, starting with the controller. The controller is a virtual instance that resides inside of a customer's VPC or VNet. You only need a single controller instance enabled with HA to manage all of your different cloud environments. The controller forms the management and the control plane for our platform. From a management plane perspective, the Aviatrix controller can be accessed via user interface as well as programmatically through Terraform, as we are an official partner and provider, as well as third-party automation platforms as we expose all of our northbound APIs. It should also be noted that those three different management techniques are all done securely using 443, as well as private or public IPs could be used, private if you're on a company VPN. From a control plane perspective, the Aviatrix controller is responsible for learning and propagating all of the routes across the multi-cloud architecture. The next component is the Aviatrix gateway, which form the data plane. They are responsible for actually forwarding the packets between the different cloud environments. The gateways also sit as instances inside of the customer VPC or VNet or cloud environment, and they run the Aviatrix software. And it's the gateways that offer our customers the advanced networking and security components, as well as a repeatable architecture across multiple clouds. And then lastly, a consistent capability around diagnostics and packet capture. One of the things that makes Aviatrix unique in the market is that the controller is multilingual. The controller can not only speak to the gateways in terms of managing routes and policy, but the controller also has the awareness and the ability to interact with the different CSP via API. And you can see all of the supported cloud types below. The controller uses these APIs for visibility into the environments, building constructs such as VPCs, VNets, route tables, subnets, as well as programming routes that are learned throughout the architecture as well. The controller also speaks next-gen firewall API as well for Fortinet, Checkpoint, and Palo Alto. This is used to simplify next-gen firewall insertion into the Aviatrix architecture. The controller also can speak to the F5 API to assist with global load balancing deployments, as well as SSL offload. The last component is Copilot. As you can see from the dotted lines and the straight line, Copilot interacts with the controller to receive information from the database to give you visualizations and analytics into that data. Gateways also send NetFlow data to Copilot. In order to authenticate into Copilot, the administrator for the Aviatrix controller needs to build a read-only account that Copilot uses to authenticate. Once you successfully authenticate into Copilot, you'll be presented with a multi-cloud dashboard, as well as other tabs that give you insights into flow analysis, as well as live topology and network performance. Now that you understand the different components that make up the Aviatrix platform, let's talk about where we sit in the architecture. What you see in this slide is a multi-cloud architecture that is simplified down to three basic layers. The application layer, where the applications reside, like virtual machines and EC2 instances or containers. And then you have a cloud access layer that's really responsible for getting your on-premise architecture connected into the cloud. And then you have the cloud network layer. This is where Aviatrix resides. And Aviatrix believes that whether an organization is in a single cloud, single region, or multiple clouds in multiple regions, the transit is really the foundation of the architecture. And organizations need a platform that offers advanced networking and security controls, as well as full visibility into your traffic as it traverses your architecture, as well as insights into route selection and a common networking services that spans these different cloud providers. These services can really be broken down into four main pillars: networking services, security services, operational services, and service insertion. One point to highlight with these services is that they are offered through the Aviatrix software. So they're a consistent set of services regardless of the cloud that the gateways are deployed in. The networking services is really the enterprise-grade advanced routing, resiliency, and really a dynamic control plane that spans regions and clouds. This gives you things like dynamic path failover and controller-based routing, With Aviatrix security services, you get things like encryption in transit without sacrificing performance. This is known as high-performance encryption. One of the things that Aviatrix has seen in our discussions with customers is that native CSP transits force customers to decide whether they want encryption or they want high performance. So there's always a trade-off. With Aviatrix, we remove that decision point. We can actually encrypt at near line rate. So we can do things like 90 plus gigs of performance inside of an AWS region fully encrypted. Multi-cloud network segmentation is a unique capability Aviatrix offers our customers to be able to create an easy segmentation strategy across the different cloud regions and clouds that gives you the ability to segment resources based on the fact whether they're production or staging or development, and then create a connection policy between different segments to easily exchange routes. Aviatrix believes that all connectivity in and out of the cloud should be encrypted. So we make it very simple to connect and build tunnels to on-premise resources. We also believe that you should have full visibility into all traffic that is internet ingress and egress. With operational services, these are things like a common centralized dashboard, centralized logging and reporting for a multi-cloud architecture. Built-in tools that simplifies troubleshooting, things like flight path and all the different visibility that Copilot brings you, as well as built-in packet capture functionality and diagnostics into every gateway. And as mentioned earlier, everything can be deployed and managed via infrastructure as code, either via northbound APIs or via Terraform. In terms of service insertion, Aviatrix makes it very simple to integrate next-gen firewalls or connect into different SD-WAN architectures, and also integrate with native third-party or on-prem third-party platforms like Splunk and Sumo Logic and others. As we go into the next slide, keep in mind, Aviatrix is a platform that solves many different customer use cases, starting with a consistent architecture regardless of your CSP account structure, a hub and spoke architecture that is fully encrypted and resilient. We can extend this to multiple regions and give you things like dynamic route selection and leverage CSP backbone for inter-region communication. Then we can extend this architecture into Azure and GCP and Oracle and Alibaba. This gives you a repeatable architecture with consistent capability. And we offer high performance encryption within this architecture to ensure, again, you're not sacrificing performance to have the in-transit encryption. We offer multi-cloud network segmentation, as mentioned earlier, where you can clearly classify spokes into a segment and control who they can talk to via policy. And we make it very simple to create connections between segments. We can also offer next-gen firewall insertion into each of the hubs that make it very simple to deploy the firewalls, as well as scale them up to 20 firewalls in each one of these hubs, and then ultimately make it very simple to define what flows actually go through your firewall stack. We provide centralized visibility up to the controller and Copilot to give you insights into all of your traffic flows, as well as dynamic topology mapping as you extend and add new VPCs or you remove VNets. You have a live topology via API. We make it very simple for users to VPN into the architecture and control what those users can talk to within the environment. We also believe that internet ingress egress should be secured and you should have full visibility. Lastly, Aviatrix integrates with native CSP constructs like an AWS TGW as well. This concludes our platform overview.